It's time for 5-Minute Advice for Authors, brought to you by Twin Flame Studios.
Hi, I am Jenn T. Grace. I am the author of Publish Your Purpose, a step-by-step guide to write, publish, and grow your big idea. And in this world, I am a publisher with Publish Your Purpose, and I help first-time authors get their books out into the world. The most important thing for readers to take away from my book is the fact that we can do this. So often we hear that phrase of, hey, just do it, write it down, start today, and all those types of just advice, which are all valid and great. However, what I have learned over the years is the best way to start, and the primary takeaway, is having the right support systems in place. So when we take on any important endeavor, whether it's training for a marathon, an Ironman, writing a book, we need to have a support system who is there to pick us up when we're feeling down, to push us that extra mile, to really just be there in every way that we possibly could need. And so for me, what I've identified is that you should have 3 specific types of people that are part of your support system. So you want to have someone who is a strategist, someone who is a therapist, and someone who is a cheerleader. That is my particular structure that I go by. And it started off as a joke many years ago where I was like, hey, at all times, I have 2 of these 3 hats on when I'm working with someone. And when I really started to unpack it, there's a lot of truth to be said about having someone who can navigate that strategy with you to really help you see the big picture, to know where you're going, what you're aiming for with the content of your book. And then you need somebody who can be a therapist, whether it's actually a paid professional, which is fantastic. If so, great. But it could just be your best friend. It could be your spouse. It's just somebody who's a sounding board. So that way, when you're having that low moment of why on earth did I decide to write this book, you can kind of anchor back in and have that conversation for somebody to be like, hey, because you're amazing. That's why you should write it. And then finally, that person who's a cheerleader, who is that person who's on the sidelines, who's like, yes, you can do this. And so you can add that extra sense of accountability too, because that cheerleader can be there to say, hey, did you do what you said you were going to do this week? Or have you accomplished the goal that you set for this particular month? So having those 3 people, in addition to probably many others, but having someone who can wear those hats for you can be a make it or break it in terms of the success of getting this book finally written. The most important advice I would say for someone who's looking to write a book is to be prepared to face the unexpected. When you are writing a book, it is a big endeavor. This is why a lot of people start the process and a lot of people don't finish the process, because there's a lot of moving pieces and parts throughout the entirety of getting a book written and then published. That's a whole other kind of can of worms here. So what we want to be thinking about is, how do we manage the unexpected as it creeps in throughout this process? So what I usually tell people is to kind of go back to kind of programming language and think about if this, then that type of statements. So we can look at our life and say, all right, if I encounter this, then I am going to do that as a result. So rather than having interruptions by family, that seems to be the most common one, whether it's from your kids, your spouse, it could be neighbors, could be anybody that's in close proximity to you. So you can say, if I am interrupted by my children, then I am going to carve out writing time when they're asleep. Or if I'm interrupted by my children, I'm going to carve out writing time away from the house. And so we can have a whole list of anticipated things that we really can expect, rather than them hitting us in the middle of the process and feeling like, oh my God, like, how do I handle this? I don't know how to manage this because it's unexpected. But really, if we actually just sit down, we know those things that are going to pop up. We know exactly what's going to hit us and what's going to is going to pull our attention away from this project. And because it's your book, it's very easy to prioritize a client meeting over setting time to write it, or it's prioritizing a team meeting or your child's, activity of some sort, whatever it might be. So the more we can kind of just document exactly what we expect is going to happen, we can go back and reference that document to say, that's right. At the start of this, I knew this was going to happen. And now I know exactly how to move through it. And that way we don't slow ourselves down. My favorite parts of the audiobook process with Twin Flames include, but are not limited to, the countless hours that I spent in my very, very small closet with my microphone on a suitcase that was not well equipped to handle the microphone stand. And so I appreciate the team's time endlessly for just the patience of it taking me to get into the closet and get situated, and then the patience for every time the microphone fell over, because that is not a best practice. But at no point in time did anyone make me feel wrong, bad, inferior, because, even though I work in publishing and I guide authors through every step of the publishing process, including giving them kind of advice on how to approach the audiobook process, just because I can tell others how to do it doesn't mean I am fully equipped to do it myself. And so I really appreciate just the generosity of the team in terms of just compassion and support and entertainment, because, when you are with somebody for that many hours together, it's nice to build a rapport and not feel like you're talking to somebody that's robotic on the other end. So I feel like just the people at Twin Flames is really what make it amazing.
Thanks for joining us on 5-Minute Advice for Authors. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe for more, and visit us at twinflamestudios.com.